short day. We'll get out of here 7:30ish. All right. Good question. So we left off on today's Daf Chav Gimel.
Yeah, Chav Gimel is right.
Chav Gimel is today. So we were having different types of Nadarim being matir. Yesterday we were discussing that. We were discussing Pesachim, right? A Pesach, an opening to a vow to allow it to go ahead and be annulled by the Chacham. So big sugya. Yeah, not current Pesach, right? That's why I had to explain further. And we also Petach, yeah. And we also say that Zachalik is by Charata, right? Does Charata work? Just having remorse, having information. If I would have known when I made it then, is there reason enough for them to annul? So that was the whole sugya, and I would continue with a couple other ma'asim. So we are. It looks like 3, 6, 7 lines from the top. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi, and Chav Gimel with Aleph, 7 lines on the top. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi, and away we went. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yasi, Mitra Lamishra. So he had another. He needed to be matir. Also, the commander Rabbani came for the Rabbanan. So Amrule Nadarta Adaita Dahachi. So they're trying to get an angle. Had you known this, would you have done it? He told them, yeah. What about this? Yeah. He kept on basically saying, yeah, no, I still would have done it. So Kamazim occurred multiple times. So Kavan the Chazi how Kitra, the Mistare Rabbanon, since one of these local workers, laundrymen, a Kitra, right? So he saw that he was basically the Rabbanon were being bothered by the fact that they couldn't find the Pesach, and he was basically annoying them. So Machle B'ucha the Kitzras, he went ahead and hit him, hit him with his utensil, hit the Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yasi. So Amar, so he said with his club, so Amar, Adait the Machle Kitzra Le'nadri V'Sharia Le'nafshe. He says, had I known that I would have been hit right by this launderer's utensil, right, then I never would have made this nether, and therefore he found a Pesach in his nether, and he was matir. So Amar Le Ravach Megdifti Ravina says Ravach Ravina. Hi Nailadu. What do you mean? This is considered to be Nailad. This is considered to be something which only came into existence after the time of the nether. In other words, the hitting of him, the occurring of him, is only something that really on a timeline he wouldn't have thought about being hit. Right? It was Nailad. Right? The Kitzur. Then he never would have thought that. He never would have thought. It wouldn't have crossed his mind at the time of the nether, right? For them to do that, with Tanita, we learn ain't place like ben Oilad. You're not allowed to go ahead and matzah nether through a circumstance or something that only was occurred after the time of the nether. So since the whack that he received was later on, so how could you be matzah at the time of the nether? It's a Naila. Samalei high lav Nailadhu the shchichi avigar the mitzari the rabbanon. Now, this is not considered to be Nailad because it's very common for such people, such empty people, to go ahead and hit the rabbanon. Therefore, it potentially did cross his mind at the time that that perhaps he will be whacked, and therefore he was able to be matir, was not considered to be Nailad.
There was that also yesterday. We learned about Nachman.
That was the same case.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Nachman upset.
Did we see Abaye? Correct. Did we see the Abaye? So the wife of Abaye, Havile Barta, had a daughter, I guess from another marriage. So who Omar the Kirvai? I have a good shidduch for her. All right, one of my cousin. So no, the Kirva. She says no, my cousin. I have a cousin. I have a good shidduch for her. So Amar Las, they're arguing who should she marry? His side of the family, her side of the family. Samarla Titasarat Hanas Alecha Iavarta Adaiti. He says, you know what? You were forbidden to get any sort of hana for me, my wife, unless if you go ahead and you marry your daughter to one of your relatives and not mine. So what did she do?
This is not like anybody.
Yeah. So Azal the Avarta Adaiti. So she went, she listened to her husband, even Rabbi couldn't control her, right? And she married her daughter off to her relative. So also the comment Rav Yosef came for Rav Yosef says, what do we do? What about this neder? Summer like ila havia died to the bar al dai techum mitzvah the krive mia darter. If you would have known, in other words, you made this neder. If you would have known that she was gonna not listen to you and they take a hike and go ahead and marry anyways, would you have made this neder? So he said, Amar Lo. He said no. B'shar Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef permitted it. It's such a reason. So Gemara says, "Mishari chi hayavna," and is this a Pesach? Right? And this is the app, and the whole point of it was to get her not to do it. So obviously, you made it with her knowing that potentially she wasn't going to listen. So that was the whole essence of the nether. The whole essence of the nether was for you to listen, and that's why you want to put it in place. If she doesn't listen, so why does that? So does this work? Seen, yeah. Well, times we go to another bright. We go to another bright. He forbid his wife to go ahead to be oil regal, and he said, if you go oil regal, you're gonna be forbidden to get hana from me. But Abra al daito, and then she went against his word. But ultimately the regal, and she went. She's oil regal. Ubalatne Rabbi Yosef for Rabbi Yosef. Amallah Ivila Ha'isa Yodea Shaveres al daitech. But oil regal. Right? Had you known that she would have basically violated your word and oil regal and go to Yerushalayim during the holidays, would you have made such a neder? Some are low. So he responded to Rabbi Yosef, low. I would not have. Rabbi Yosef was not there such a neder based upon that. So we see that this is even a Pesach in such a case.
That's more of a threat than a neder.
Right.
It's a threat.
Right. Zot the Gemara. Speaking of threats, so we had in the previous mission, I think it was the first mission of the parak, which would be on Chaf and Beis. So it says over there we had a list of 4 different nadarim that don't necessarily need the sheila to be matir because they don't work. And the first category was nidrei zruzin, right, to be mizari somebody. And the first example that was given in our Mishnah was basically a negotiating tactic. One guy said not less than 4. The other guy said not more than 2, and they agreed upon 3, and therefore neither nadarim or chal because it was only really used, according to the second shot, as a negotiating tactic. So Zot our Mishnah, Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Af haraitze lahader chavero sheyechel eslo. Even one who wants to go ahead and basically he's trying to get someone to go ahead and eat at his house, and he says, "No, I can't eat there." So he says, "If you don't eat there, right, or if you don't eat there, it's gonna be forbidden." So Yemar Lo. Now we'll soon see that there's an understanding of the Gemara. But the Havamina is this is a continuation of the previous case. I will read it that way because that's going to read into the Gemara's question. And then there's going to be a whole new pshat in our Mishnah. So anyways, that's even one who wants to his friend to come eat by him. Please eat by me. And invite John. He says no. I said, okay, if you don't eat by me, you're free to get hana from me. So Yemar. So Lo. So she's I think the Lo Yemar kol neder shani asi lidor. So I say, right, I'm the one who's going to be making the nether. Any nether that I'm making in the future, who batal is batal ubovad, she is zachar b'shas nether. As long as I remember during the time of the nether. So in other words, I say, any nether I make in the future is nullified, right? As long as I remember this when I make that nether, and you are forbidden from getting hana from me if you don't eat in my house. That's what he said. So we'll get to Kol Nidre, right? We'll get there. So go on answer. So Zak the Gemara. So that's the Mishnah. Let's see. The cave I'm called Neder Shani Asi Lidor Yebatel. I understand. If John hears me say, right, any nether in the future I'm going to say is nullified, does not work, right? So and then I say you're forbidden from getting hana from me. So John will say, okay, you just said any nether you make is not going to work, so your nether is not going to work, right? Right? The nether he won't listen to him, and he's not going to come by it. So what's the point of me saying that? So the Gemara answers, no, chasur nachsra. Really, our mission is missing a part. V'hachi ketani. Haraitze. So what are nidrei zuzin? Right. So nidrei zuzin from the previous mission. Haraitze sheichal etzla v'chavero u'masarid lai. Right. The guy says, "Go, come on, eat." John, no, Messiah, right? Says, come on, let's go. He says, no, Umadira, and then I make a neder. If you don't eat by me, that's Nidre Zruzin who? That's Nidre Zruzin. Right? Those are a neder. I never really wanted to forbid him from me. I just really wanted him to be Mazaris him to come eat at my house. And therefore, that's not a real neder, and therefore it's not chal, and you don't even matter because it doesn't work at all. And then says, period. And then says the Mishnah, and a person who doesn't want his nedarim to be chal throughout the year, Yama the Rosh Hashanah, you should get up on Rosh Hashanah the Eimer and say, Kol neder shani asi lidor ye batel. Any neder that I make in the future will be batel, ubilvad she'ezacher b'shas neder. As long as I remember it, as long as it's remembered during the time of the neder. So we have to understand what that means, because the Gemara is going to go with the
Hebrews, it's all about intent.
Nidre is Ruzin, right?
It's all about intent. So if your intent was just to
to get him to go there, right?
How does it comes down to who knows what your intent really is, right?
So that's the question, right?
You said the first Mishnah when there were two people, then you say they were just trying to negotiate.
Right. So over here, so we'll soon see. It's going to be a little bit question in the Gemara. So let's see now. So that was. Let's go on that the whole Kol Nidre thing, right? Kol Nidre, you guys pointed out, right? So any neder, right, that I make in the future will be batil as long as I remember it. So the Gemara says, "Izacher." If I remember that I made a Tanai, right, on Rosh Hashanah or Erev Rosh Hashanah, right? If I remember that, and nevertheless, 3 months later, I said, "Yeah, I remember I said that." But anyways, nevertheless, this is also to me because of korban. Izacher akad Tanai. It should be that I uprooted the condition. And I overwrote it. The kind of the nidra, the nejmichal. Some Rabbi Tani ubulvad shaloy yezach b'shas neder. So Rabbi says pasha. Oh, you said like this? No, I can say at the beginning of the year, no neder of mine is going to be chal, and then that's it. I said that. Later on, I make a neder, and I don't remember I said that. I wasn't thinking about it. So then that condition works, right? As long as I don't remember, right, that I made that condition that no neder will be chal, then my neder is not chal. Because the only issue is going to be, if I remember I made that condition and then I made a neder anyway, that's the override. But if I don't remember it, then there's no override, right? And then the Tanai works. So it's either the Tanai works or the neder works. So since if I don't remember, then the Tanai is in place unless I specifically remember. It says, yeah, I remember I said that. However, I'm changing it now, and he's allowed to do that. That was the bias chat. And Rabbi Amar Li'elam to the Amrina Nikara. Really, we don't want to change the lashon of the Mishnah. So rather, how do you understand the Mishnah? A guy says in Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to be healthy this year. His New Year's resolution, I'm not going to eat any Reese's peanut butter cups. That's what he says. She's the Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, that's not doable.
And then he doesn't actually recall. He remembers it was some food, which candy, was it the payday, it was a Kit Kat, was it? He doesn't remember. And then later on, right, a couple months later, comes November, he makes a neder. So now, in November, he remembers he made this condition that I will never, I said the opposite for. I will never forbid Reese's peanut butter cups.
That was what you remember.
Yeah. I love Reese's peanut butter cups. I will never make them forbidden to me. Come November, I'm getting too fat. I have the from trick or treating, right? I got all these Reese's peanut butter cups. I want now. He doesn't remember which candy he said on Rosh Hashanah. Now, if he says, now I remember I had a neder then, but I don't remember exactly what it was. And whatever I said then applies. And then he says these cups are forbidden for me. Since he says, I don't remember my condition, but that condition stands. But I'm going to make a neder now. And then he realizes, oh, my thing was I would never forbid Reese's peanut butter cups. So therefore, since he said, whatever that condition is, if I remember later on, I'm going to stand by that condition that will override his current neder to forbid them. And therefore, there's no neder. However, lo maldas rishana, he made the condition later on, I will never forbid Reese's peanut butter cups. And then in November, he doesn't recall about that, and he says, okay, Reese's peanut butter cups are forbidden for me. If he doesn't say, right, that I'm going to override it, and therefore by him doing it again, therefore he has uprooted his previous condition and is now neder is chal. And Rav Huna bar Chinana savar lemidrashe bepirka. So Rav Huna bar Chinana wanted to go ahead and darshan, hey, by the way, let's go ahead and start doing this condition every year called Nidre, right? As we did it, however, it's a Midrashe bepirka samalei Rava. Tana kamastayim le stume kadesh lo yana kolasrosh b'shadarim bat darash lo bepirka. Understand? Our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah is very funny, right? Our Mishnah doesn't make sense, right? But you have to add in the words, and Rosh Hashanah, you do this, right? So we sort of hid this halacha in our Mishnah. Why? Because we don't want people just to say, oh, I said Kol Nidre, I can say any promises, any that I want throughout the year and violate my word. Oh, I said B'li Neder, or I said Kol Nidre, right? So therefore, since our Mishnah hit it and put it in a funny language, and we had to do a whole Chasur Mechsra, so you want to go ahead and darshan it? We don't go ahead and darshan this to Amaratzim, because therefore people are going to go ahead and start making a daram and shvuos and violating the words, and therefore let's just keep it quiet. So therefore he didn't really uphold of darshaning it, and probably was not something that was said. Some say but we do it every year. So some say because it's done in Aramaic, and therefore people who are some is an Amaretz won't necessarily understand the lashon, and therefore maybe it won't will protect them from that. So
There's no Aramaic Amratzim.
we'll stop it. There wasn't what they were speaking. All right, we'll stop here tomorrow. It's a whole new question. We'll continue from here. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, we will continue. Everyone have a wonderful day. And